This is Mitch, and welcome to the Real Estate Investor Summit podcast. I'm talking with Mike Banks, and this guy, he and Ari, they've started a company, and they help people, business people, not just real estate investors, but anybody with a business that needs some access to some capital. And who doesn't when you're first starting out? I mean, when I started out, I was so broke, you know, I, I was just broke. I couldn't rub two nickels together. And if I'd have had something like this, it would have changed. Now, I inadvertently I absolutely did what Mike Banks is going to talk to us about. I bought my first 100 houses on credit cards because it was the only lending place I could go that didn't want to overanalyze what I was trying to do with my money. I knew what I was doing with my money. I knew I was going to make a profit. I knew, but trying to explain that to some guy in a silk tie across an oak desk usually doesn't work out. I happen to have good credit, so I had access to credit cards. And back in the day, it was a lot less complicated. If you had good credit and you put in an application, you automatically got the card and you got the full amount of cash access or cash withdrawal access just by virtue you had good credit. Now today, a lot of people did exactly what I recognized we could do. I could have taken all those credit cards and I could have gotten about, I don't know, $600,000 on my kitchen room table. It'd taken me about 10 days, but I had 45 credit cards. They weren't holding that against you either back in the day. You could get as many credit cards. If you had good credit and you turned in the application, they'd give you the card. They didn't care how many cards you had. That's different today because they recognized that people like me could get $600,000 on a dining room table and then take off to Mexico and never pay them back. And I guess a certain amount of people did that. So now there's different kinds of regulations. But I'm sitting here running my mouth. I need to introduce my guest. Hey, Mike, how you doing?
Good. How you doing, Mitch? Thanks for having me.
Where are you sitting right now? What city, state?
We are just north of Tampa, Florida, in a little town called Spring Hill.
Oh, poor you. Poor you. Is it on a beach by any chance?
We're about 20 minutes away from a pretty close beach. Not a bad one. Some of the better beaches are about an hour away, though, like Clearwater, St. Pete, Tampa area.
Yeah. So I've been sitting here talking about, buying my first 100 houses on credit cards, and Mike's over there nodding his head up and down because literally I bought my first 100 houses on credit cards. But mind you, it was 20 years ago. It was a different time. So we're going to explain some of the differences and why Mike Banks' company is more important than ever now, because there's different regulations and different algorithms than there ever used to be because, the bad apples ruined a good thing and they made it tough for everybody. But back 20 years ago, I could buy a house for 20 grand. So I would walk into the bank and I'd say, I need 10 grand off this card and I need 10 grand off that card, and they'd give it to me. And then I needed 10 grand in the rehab. So I'd take 10 grand for the rehab. So I'd have 30,000 in this property, and I'd go fix it up, and I would sell it, owner finance it for 60,000, and then I'd sell the note for like 53,000 cash, and plus pick up a down payment. I did this 100 times in a row before finally my bank called me and said, would you like a line of credit? So,
we still have tons of clients doing that, by the way.
But there's other things too. Like I never did wholesaling. Because I had access to this, I went straight to buying the property, fixing it, and making the bigger bite out of the apple, right? But picture all the wholesalers out there. They just need $2,000 or $3,000 sometimes to tie up a property. And you could tie up a lot of property with a very small amount of credit cards, and start flipping contracts. And some of the more expensive or nicer properties, or when you're talking to someone who's a little more savvy, they might want more than $10 earnest money, or $100 earnest money. They might want a substantial commitment from you. And if you don't have any money, you can't do that. But, Mike and Ari, they have a company that helps anybody in any business. So if you're not in the real estate investing arena, that doesn't mean that this conversation we're fixing to have is not for you, because I can't tell you how many businesses I know could use some advance on their payroll or advance on their invoices, and not have to go to Loan Shark City where they're charging $1 billion. Tell us a little bit about your background, Mike. How did you stumble into helping people gain access to what do you call it?
Business credit lines.
What kind of what do you call it?
Business credit lines, essentially.
Business credit lines or unsecured lines of credit. Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you get into this?
Yeah, so the company's been around for 10 years. Before we started focusing specifically on business credit, we were more of a mortgage company. The guy that started the company 10 years ago was a mortgage broker in California doing a bunch of high-end loans. And then he ended up getting into this niche. And then about 10 years ago, Ari took over the company. He basically sold it to Ari. And I got with the company about 8 years ago. And yeah, we've been growing very steadily since then. We're at about 40 employees now. We just bought a new office building here in Spring Hill, Florida. And we did about 15 million last month in new credit that we originated. But before I got into this company, I was working in a pharmaceutical company, basically a wholesale distributor. And that was what I was doing before here and also going to college.
Were you friends with Ari, or did you just bump into him through business or
yeah,
listen
just
to him, or
through
what?
business. We weren't friends first, but then we ended up becoming friends and, grew the company together. When I started, it was there was two other employees here, and now we bought the office building we're in now. We've had to upgrade and get a bigger building. So we're doing really great. We're on the Inc. 5000 list again.
Man, incredible! What a story, huh?
Yeah,
I always
we've come a
like the
long way.
backstory. I always like the backstory because, there's a lot of people wondering when their ship's coming in, and you just never know, right?
Right. Yeah. And the relationships really, having these kind of relationships, that's really what's brought so much success to our company. Like paid advertising is great, but it's these relationships that we've developed where we're really taking care of our affiliates group. And I'm not sure where you're at right now, but
I'm in San Antonio, Texas.
no, I mean, as far as your group, your total
Oh,
credit gain for your group, I'm
oh,
not sure what that
I can
number is.
tell you. I think I can tell you. Last I heard, I'm sure it's more than this
Let me
now.
pull it up real quick. I'll check.
Last I heard, there was about 230,000. I mean, 230 people that had gone to your company through
Okay.
my podcast or through my efforts.
Wow, you're up to 13 million, 13.14. Yeah, so 13.1 million is the
Yeah.
total
So
amount of credit that we've
so those
established.
people got over $13 million worth of credit. I'm just a real believer in this. I'm a member myself, So I mean,
Yep.
I have gone through the gauntlet with you guys and picked up lines of credit and picked up stuff and uh, continue to work to make sure that I have lines
Mhm.
of credit that don't even hit my credit bureau. You know what I mean? The credit bureaus, my personal credit
Yeah.
report. So that's really cool. That's a new level of kind of freedom. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a super attractive thing. You can carry 50, $100,000 if you're doing a flip or whatever, and it doesn't even show up on your personal credit, doesn't bring your personal scores down. So we got a lot of clients that are doing that. And what's cool is, you were talking about how you used to do it. You would go to the bank and get 10 here and 10 there. But now you can just literally send a wire transfer from the credit line to the closing company. So you can close on a cash deal, like as a cash buyer, send them the wire for escrow, and then boom, you close on the deal. We've had
Now, when I used to get advances on credit cards when it started out, they were charging me like 3% or something. And when you're
yeah,
doing 30,000, 3%, it was kind of a hefty little fee, but it was really nothing in the big picture, right?
not really.
Then I discovered that you could get the credit card checks, and it was just $50 for whatever the amount the check was. It was just a
Right.
flat $50 or flat $100 or whatever it was. And so it made a whole lot more sense to call the credit card company and get the checks. Do they still do that at all?
Yeah, they do still offer convenience checks, and they'll still do balance transfers, which is what you're talking about with the 3%. So those are still happening with our clients. But then the other option is the wire transfer option, where you can have our third-party vendor charge your credit card and then send the wire transfer to whatever place of business it is that, let's say, they don't accept credit cards. You just do the wire transfer, and you pay the third party. They charge your card. It costs 2.75% for a wire transfer. And then for a check or an ACH, it is 2.5%. So when you do the math, it's like a lot cheaper than going out and getting a hard money loan. That's going to cost you like 12%, and then 2 to 3 points just to originate that hard money loan. That's going to cost you like 15,000 to do that. But with business credit, you can do it for way cheaper. And we've had tons of clients doing that's what most of our clients are doing is flipping houses, and then we have a good percentage of clients that are also landlords that are buying rental properties distressed and then fixing them up and then
if nothing else, you know, right off the top of my head, let's just say you're a person that has a full-time job and you're happy with it, but you like to make some extra money. Go get some credit with Mike's company, and then loan it out to people like me who can give you ample collateral. Like the best thing that would ever happen to anyone who loans me money is that I don't pay them. Is because the collateral that I put up, I function off of, today I function off of 16, fixing to be $20 million worth of private people's money. I got 8% only money for 5 years. And then, a lot of those people I can call up and say, hey, I need to put this on a 10-year AM, or I need to put it on a 15-year AM, certain amount of them. The old people don't want to go on a 15-year AM, but the younger people with IRAs they can't get to for 20 years. Yeah, put it on 15 years, let it ride. I don't want to go in and out. I just want to keep making my 8%.
Right.
And so I don't use, I use the credit cards and these lines of credit to launch myself. And then, I found a little bit easier ways, not as cheap though. Some of these credit cards are 0%, 1%, none percent, and so what we're doing right now, and the reason why Mike Powell and I decided to go both get signed up with Mike and Ari is because we're going to do all our rehabs with low to no interest rate loans. And we've calculated, we're doing 100 houses this year. We calculated, not all of them got rehabs and not all of them will go through rehab, but enough of them will. And we calculated that the interest savings alone will be about $37,000. Just, from the amount of that we do. Yeah. And we figured that would take he and I and the company on a nice trip and still have money left over,
Nice.
So awesome. We talked to the company and said, this is going to be a little bit of an effort. We got to put some effort in to keep track of this way.
Mm-hmm.
But if y'all want to keep track of it, we'll take y'all on a vacation, for 4 or 5 days.
Can't beat that.
Yeah. And everybody said they were more than willing to keep up with it. So,
And speaking of vacation, what's cool about this whole concept is that you can earn rewards points as you're spending on these business credit lines, and then you can get free travel, free cash back. So that's another perk. And
well, we figured that in too. We figured that all the airline tickets were going to be free because we're going to have enough air miles. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's exactly. Another thing. I have like over 1 million air miles right now, or right at 1 million air miles. Like I can fly, but flying in the continental U.S., the contiguous United States of America, it's not an issue. I never pay for any of that, unless I want to do something. Not even, I was going to say last minute, but it's even covered then. So the only thing it really wouldn't help me is I want to go overseas, and sometimes it even helps with that. But plane tickets are not an issue for me. If I want to go somewhere, I just go. It doesn't cost anything.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the
nice perk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you still? Last time I talked to y'all, you had a little website. We're going to send everybody to reinvestorsummit.com/grow. But you had a site that you could go and people would plug in their social, and I wanted to bring this right out front. They'd plug in their social, and you'd give them a pretty quick snapshot. They'd fill out a little questionnaire or something. You'd give them a pretty quick snapshot of what you could do for them in a very short period of time. Do you still have that going?
Yeah, we do. But for this link that we're using, we're just going to keep it simple and not ask for people's social, and just have them tell us what their credit score range is. So when they go to that link, it'll ask them, what's your range? What's your credit score range? And then we'll call them, ask them a few questions about their credit, about their business and all that. And then we'll give them a pre-qualification amount and say, look, here's what you pre-qualify for in the next 2 weeks. and then, we'll get them started and move them forward as a client.
Yeah, so go to reinvestorsummit.com/grow, and you'll get over to the show notes, and you'll have an opportunity to get a snapshot of what your available credit could look like in a very short period of time. What is it, 30 days or 60 days?
No, actually, we used to promise 30 days, and that was our turnaround time. But now we changed some things up internally, and we basically deleted this 1 week of waiting time where people would be waiting to get on a consultation call. So instead, now, as soon as they sign up, we go in there, we review their credit, we respond within 2 to 3 days. And then in many cases, we're applying for credit within the first week that they signed up. So that's why I was saying before, 2 weeks is the new turnaround time. So you guys can have up to $150,000 in the next 2 weeks.
That's incredible. And believe me, it doesn't matter what business you're in. You need to have this in waiting. You don't want to wait until that opportunity of a lifetime comes by and because it's too late then. You need to be ready with your lines of credit, with your availability. You don't have to use it.
Yeah.
But when something comes by, normally the greatest deals on the planet are happening because there's some kind of huge back pressure for the guy that has to liquidate. There's some kind of time pressure, a foreclosure, something imminently not good is going to happen if they don't do something soon about some situation. Yep. And then it's too late to start. You have to have these things. You have to have this availability. You have to be ready to strike. And so I would say if you're in a business that opportunities roll around from time to time, you need to get in and get ready. I was just thinking to myself, I wrote this book, My Life in 1,000 Houses, Failing Forward to Financial Freedom. And at one point in this book, my wife is going to divorce me because she found out I had like $250,000 worth of credit card debt that I didn't tell her about. We'd only been married about 30 days. And she thought she'd married a complete nut job, that I was one of those made for TV show specials, and she was going to divorce me. And I was sitting there trying to explain to her that I had $500,000 worth of houses free and clear. And this was, what I had that I bought them with. Mm-hmm. And she wasn't going to have any. We ended up going to counseling. We ended up going to counseling to a marriage counselor over this in like 36 hours. We were at a counselor because that was part of her demands. And
really,
yeah. There's all kinds of funny things about this story. I won't go into all, but the guy's name was Dr. Love. Believe it or not, that was his name, and he was a marriage counselor, and he'd been married 3 times. And you'll come to find out, I didn't know this, but when we signed up. Anyways, this is a true story. May Dr. Love, I hope he never watches this podcast. But anyways, my wife tells the story about how she's petrified and that I'm going to ruin her future and her credit and all this stuff. And she told her story, and it was very convincing. Even I was listening to her tell the doctor about credit card debt, and I have a point to this because credit card debt, it's supposed to be the enemy, right? But there's good and bad debt, and it doesn't matter how you get it, whether through a credit card or a line of credit, it doesn't matter. Yeah. This was good debt, but it didn't look good on the outside. So she explains it to the doctor, and I'm listening to her tell the doctor, the good doctor, and I'm thinking, wow, that's pretty convincing. I mean, if I was him, I would definitely believe all that. And then he got over to me, and I started explaining to him how I bought these houses, what these houses were worth, why I knew what these houses were worth for, my method of how I did it, and the fact that I didn't have any money, I didn't have any choice. But if I was going to let this deal walk past me, or I could get out my credit card and I could take it off the market, I could control it for a certain amount of time until I didn't have to take it even all the way down. I didn't even have to own it or possess it. I just had to control it for a certain amount of time with a contract, and then I can make all this money. And about halfway through my explanation of it, I noticed a paradigm shift in the conversation, and I'm now giving him financial advice. And at the end of the conversation, he wants to know if he can loan me money. And my wife loses her collective crap, like right there. And I'm walking out the door, and she's pissed, and she's getting on the elevator because I had turned the psychologist into a potential investor. And On the way down, I said, well, I'm sorry that I'm so screwed up that even the doctor wants to invest with me. I mean, just just give me just give me 60 days and let me show you what happens. So anyways, the point is people are petrified of credit card debt. But if you could get $100,000 on credit card debt at 18%, at 25%, it doesn't, that's annual interest, right? 20% annual interest. And you can make 50 or 100 grand in 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 5 days. It doesn't matter what the interest rate is. It doesn't matter where you get the money, just get the damn money,
Yeah.
right?
Speaking of interest rate, everything we apply for comes with zero interest for an average of 12 months.
I know, but when I was doing it, like some of these cards were 18%, but it was 18% annual interest. I wasn't going to own this property in 30 days. So you had to take the annual interest, you find a daily rate and figure out what you're going to pay. And so for the month I was going to pay, $2,000 or $3,000, but I was going to make $28,000. Who cares?
Yeah.
Because if you don't have the damn credit card at 18%, I wasn't going to make anything, you know? And you're talking about 0% interest, which is exactly why Mike and I got together and said, we're going to start doing our rehabs. We looked at our rehab budget and we thought it's a lot easier to borrow money from a private lender. Let's say you want to borrow on a $100,000 house. I'm using round number, easy numbers. $100,000 house. Mm-hmm. That's what it's worth. That's what I can sell it for. Okay. Let's say I want to borrow 50 to buy it and 20 for the rehab. So I need to borrow $70,000 on a $100,000 house. So I'm talking to a private lender potentially, and I want the listeners to put themselves in my shoes right now. You're talking to a private lender about borrowing $70,000 on a $100,000 house. Wouldn't it be a lot easier to borrow 50 to talk him in to lending you 50 on a $100,000 house, and you use the 20 off of your credit cards to do the rehab, which is 0% interest anyways, which is a good reason. This is how you raise private money, my friends. I'm going to tell you, part of how you get successful at connecting with potential private lenders is you use your credit cards to limit the amount that your private lender has to give you to get into the house. Again, I'm going to say it. This house is worth 100. I needed 70. Mm-hmm. It has like 9 days on the market. I'm going to take 50 to buy it, and then I needed 20 to fix it. So I'm asking this private lender for $70,000. But the house is worth 100. That's not it's a disparity. It's good enough. You can find some people to do that deal. It's not out of the realm, but it's so much easier to say, look, I tell you what, just give me 50. I'll spend 20,000 of my own money. You don't have to tell them where it comes from. I'll spend 20,000 of my own money on the repairs. Mm-hmm. Will you owe me 50 on this $100,000 house? A 50% LTV. This is how you start your private money career, raising private money. If you have access to money like this, it makes it real simple for a private lender to go, well, why the hell wouldn't I do that?
Right.
It's a no-brainer. You turn something they have to contemplate into a no-brainer decision because you're going to get $20,000 from a different source, and it doesn't encumber your $50,000 private lender's first lien position. He's still got a first lien. Now he's just got a first lien with only $50,000 on a $100,000 house. Mm-hmm. I'm telling you, there's a reason why I got $20 million worth of private money. When I find a big fish out there that I want to get to know, that he doesn't know my name, but I do know him, and I do know he's a big fish, I create no-brainer deals like this using my own money or using credit card money or using some other money, make it real easy for him to do one deal with me. That's all I want is for them to do one deal with me.
Right.
I know,
especially for the beginners, right?
Especially for the beginners.
Because it's hard to find a deal with so much meat on the bone that you can get the hard money lender to agree to do the deal on. And I've heard before, usually you have to have multiple deals under your belt before you can even get some lenders to work with you. So by what you're saying is basically you could find a deal that's not the greatest spread, but it's still a deal. And you can make that one happen by having the credit lines available to basically supplement the amount that you're getting from the lender.
It can work two ways. Let's say the house needed no rehab and it was a $70,000 house. You could take $20,000 and put it towards the house, and you can borrow the 50 from the lender. You're just making it easy for this guy. I mean, at some point, it's not about you. When you're trying to find private money, that's one of the biggest obstacles when I'm trying to teach people to find private money lenders.
Mm-hmm.
They think I don't have good credit. I don't have I don't have a track record. I don't speak the language that well. It's not about you, boys and girls. It's not about you. It's about the collateral. What are you going to give this man as a security in case you don't perform? Is it good enough, or is it a no-brainer? And so how you make a no-brainer is this example.
Right.
And that's how you do it. It has nothing to do with you. Charles Manson should have been able to get these loans. You know, been able to bang on the bars with his metal cup until the warden showed up and he said, "Look, I want to borrow $50,000 from you." And the warden says, "No, why the hell would I do that?" He says, "Well, because I'm going to pledge a $100,000 house, and if I don't pay you, you're going to get my $100,000 house." All of a sudden, I don't care how many murders Manson had committed. I just don't care. I'm going to loan him $50,000. If he don't pay me, I'm going to get a $100,000 house. Woohoo! Good day.
Yeah.
He's in jail, and he can't come get me and kill me because he's in jail. That was a really bad example, but you know what I mean? I'm trying to drive this home in the worst scenario possible. Charles, anybody should be able to get these loans. It doesn't matter about your track record. It doesn't matter about any of that. It matters about your pledging. And this is a way to make your collateral look really good.
Yeah, personally, I'm in the middle of doing a rehab on a house right now. And the house I got for kind of close to those numbers, basically worth about 115. I got it for around like 65. And it's not exactly the big
numbers, really just moved them up 15,000.
Yeah, it's not the best spread, but it didn't, it wasn't like it needed a new roof. It didn't need a new roof. It didn't need everything. It just needed an AC and cosmetics. Yeah, so I tried wholesaling it, tried finding a buyer, and everyone I could find just wanted it for what I had it for, but I couldn't get the seller down because he already had a contract from another guy who was going to come in and do the same. So anyway, I used my credit and I used my own money, but I could have went to a hard money lender like what you're saying. The only thing is I didn't feel confident because there wasn't really a good enough spread. And then I would have had to go and pay the hard money lender 12 to 10%. So I just used my own money and credit, and that's how I'm getting it done. So whether you're using a lender and the credit, your own money and the credit, either way, like it gave me this extra confidence of being able to spend more money on marketing, on direct mail, and just having that extra drive to actually get my feet wet. Before all I did was wholesale a few houses, like 5.
Okay, so this is what we want you to do. If this has tweaked your interest, I want you to go to reinvestorsummit.com/grow, GROW. I want you to go there. By just virtue of using that link, you're going to get $500 off the traditional price. I know this is a true discount because I've been doing this. Like I said, 230 of my students have used this company. They've done a great job. It's helped them a lot. You have to apply yourself though. When get the free consult, let them talk to you. I think you need about a 720 credit score to shoot right out of the barrel. If you don't have quite a 720 credit score, you don't have a 720 credit score, they can help you fix that too. And this is another thing that your company does so well, Mike. The credit repair business is a bullshit business. It is one of the most bullshit-ridden businesses on the planet, and there's a lot of shysters in that business. And because they take the money and they don't ever do anything. You guys are not charging very much for this, and I know people that charge a ton for it. You're not charging that much for it. It's real easy to handle, and you guys actually get it done because you have a higher purpose in mind. You got a bigger reason for doing this.
Yeah, we have a lot of clients that come in through Fund and Grow on a webinar, on a video like this, and they sign up and they've got like a 650. They thought they had better credit, whatever. So then we need to do credit repair for them, and we need to perform so we can get them to qualify as soon as possible to keep them as a client. But about that, we transitioned to a pay per delete model. Before that, we had a 6-month refund period. So we weren't just doing like a monthly thing. A lot of the other companies, they just get you on this monthly recurring payment and you're just kind of just still in the program for a while. Our goal and the way our model was set up was to perform as quickly as possible, or we had a 6-month refund period. But now we're doing pay per delete on that. So yeah, and usually like a 680 score and up. Not only, some people in that 680, 720 range, they still have strong credit, but they might just at the time, they might have some high balances that need to be paid down to around 35%. So because a lot of people fluctuate from like 680, 750, month to month.
Yeah. So what you do is go there, get your $500 discount. If you choose to go the long haul, you'll get a $500 discount. REInvestorsummit.com/grow. And also, they're going to get you on a free phone consult when you get out there. So they'll answer all your questions, figure out where you're at, get a game plan, tell you what's possible. And the other thing we talked about, I think the last time we were on, but people don't understand how much it costs them when they don't have good credit. When you don't have good credit, you are paying extra for all kinds of things that you have no idea. Insurance, car interest rates, even health insurance, any kind of insurance, car insurance, you're going to pay more for it. You don't get a favorable rate anytime you want to do an installment. Because I bought a car the other day at 1.75% because my credit was good. I mean, it's like free money, Yeah.
What'd you get?
I got a big old Wappa pickup truck, 4-wheel drive, 4-door,
Nice.
Yeah, just kind of stuff I could just like swim rivers with.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, you gotta come to Texas sometime when let it cool off just a tad, but come down to my ranch in San Antonio, please.
Yeah, I've seen some pictures. I'd love to get out there. It looks like you're setting up all kinds of different like hunting towers and watch cams and stuff, right?
Yeah, and it's just for me and my friends. I mean, I don't. It's not a business for me. That's my recreation, and I like to share it. So get out there, you guys. Get you some credit. Find you some deals. If you're paying too much for something, make that be your goal. Get your credit up. Go refinance your house at a lower rate. There's 100 ways to save money with this. It starts with your credit. And then beyond that, be ready for when opportunity presents itself that you can go someplace and grab the funds to capitalize on it. It might be a Corvette for half price, or it might be a Rolex that you could pick up for pennies on the dollar, or it might be a house that's in your business. But it doesn't really matter what it is. Usually when there's a over-the-top deal on something, you got to move like this. Yeah. And cash is king.
And not only the people with bad credit, but I mean, obviously the people with better credit can get funding right away. But something that we've seen happen a lot is like people with 750 credit scores, they go and they try to get access to business credit lines on their own, and the bank denies them because they don't have any previous business credit history. And we see that come up a lot when we apply for people. But when we apply, we get on the phone with the decision maker, we talk to the underwriter, and we have those decisions overturned into an approval. 99% of the time, that's what's happening. We have a whole team of people here that are on the phone with each bank, talking about each application, making sure everyone gets approved. So even the people with 750s, when they go and they try to do this on their own, they get like 5,000, maybe 10,000, but they're not getting 50, 75, 100,000 like we get. And it's because we do so much volume. We have relationships, and
it's a difference between being an amateur and a pro. Yeah. You know that you do this every day. You know the algorithms. You know how they want it presented. You know what they want to hear. You know what they don't want to hear. You know how to talk to them, and to just go out there yourself. I can completely understand it.
We have that confidence. We know this person qualifies. We've seen them get approved in that type of a scenario thousands of other times. So we're able to, you just kind of enforce that when we get on the phone. We have them. And another thing, when you apply on your own, usually that's just a computer systematically responding to the application, and it does the algorithm like you're saying. And that's it. Whatever that decision is, that's what sticks. But by having our team speak with the decision makers every day on your behalf, going over those applications, we really do get a lot more credit. Like when we do a webinar and we show you guys the credit gain view, which I'm looking at right now on my screen, you can see the initial auto approval columns, always zeros, couple 2,500, 5,000, 10,000, mostly zeros in that initial column when they on the auto decision. And that's what most people get when they do it on their own. So yeah, having our team do it for you will bring in way more in a shorter period of time for sure.
Okay, and from my own personal experience, when they ask you to do something, you got to go do it. If you need to, like the other day, I went down and showed up at Bank of America because they have some stricter policies. They wanted 2 forms of ID to make sure there wasn't a scam or something. I drove by the first Bank of America I saw. I walked in, I got an appointment. they had some key uh, case number I gave the lady, and they looked it up on the computer. We got in touch with the right person. I showed them my ID. I was off and running, and that resulted in an extra huge bump in my credit line. So, you know, you got to do your part. You got to do your part. You know what I mean?
will say that that's more on the rare side. That's not something that's happening for every client, but in some cases it does happen. Some things like that will happen here and there.
Well,
But,
I'm very happy because I said, so how much can I get on this card now? And they said, well, basically we've just uncapped you. And I said, what do you mean you uncapped you? He says, well, there's no limit. I said, so I could go buy a house for 100. And they said, well, let me see. So they plugged it in and they said, yep, it would go through if I hit this button. And I said, what about 150? They said, well, let's see. They said, yeah, it'll go through if I hit this button. I said, well, what about 200? They said, yeah, it'll go through if I hit this button. And I said, holy cow, I'm glad I stopped by here.
yeah, that's
I
amazing.
know I have one card. I mean, I could just, you know.
Yeah, we love American Express. They approve a lot of our clients. We've have a great relationship. We've been working together with them for a while, and we get a lot of approvals. Sometimes 75, 100,000 on one account, and then in some cases we have those no limit cards that are getting approved as well. But yeah, we work with all.
No limit. I thought it was BS, so I was just trying to push them. I mean, I didn't want to go any further than that, but I did take it to 200, and I said, well, that's good enough. If I need more than that, I'll call them. But
Yeah.
it was a good deal, man. I really want to thank you for taking the time to come on. Anything you want to say, or did I miss any points that we need to cover?
Not really, just, basic stuff. We've been working together for years. We've, referred each other clients. We've done over 13, I think it was like 13 or 15 million we did for your pool.
It was 13 million. And I know for a fact it was over 230 students. I've talked to them. I know, I talk to them every Tuesday, or most of them, or a lot of them.
Yeah. We've gotten tons of reviews from your clients also. So just a great relationship. So if anyone wants to pre-qualify, just go to that link and we'll give you a call.
Yeah, go to REInvestorSummit.com/grow, GROW, and get your $500 discount, get your phone consultation, and get prepared for when, that opportunity matches this kind of money. You can take advantage of it. And, I told people the fee that you charge compared to what you can do with these lines of credit is it's a no-brainer, stupid decision.
Yeah.
It shouldn't even be even on your radar if you're making any deals at all. So
yeah, I mean, if you compare it to hard money, it's so much cheaper. It literally costs you 2.75% to send the wire transfer, and now you're at zero interest for 12 months. And it literally costs you $2,750 to use that 100 grand to buy a house, send those wire transfers over to the closing company versus paying a hard money lender 12 to 15,000 because of the 12% interest plus the 2 to 3 points. So the time,
hard money lenders sometimes are not that fast.
And they won't approve every deal. Like the deal I did, I would have just had to let that go and let the next guy get it who had the money to do it.
Yeah. Let me put it to you this way, guys. You miss one deal because you don't have this, and you're going to be kicking yourself down the road, and it won't happen again. So just save yourself the frustration. Yep. All right, man. REInvestorSummit.com/grow. Mike, I'd like to thank you so much for taking the time to stop by. I'd like to thank the audience for taking time to stop by and get you some Mike Banks and learn about these lines of credit, unsecured lines of credit and business credit, and take advantage of it, you guys. This is Mitch Stephen with the RE Investor Summit podcast, and we're out of here.
Thanks, Mitch.